Sun softball pitch.
Welcome to this week's edition of Everything Fast Pitch and our summer series of mini pods. We're going to talk today about another topic that was suggested by a listener. If you're interested in this topic, the idea of what's wrong with travel ball and what's right with travel ball, I did a very lengthy series a couple of years ago now that's on our website. If you go to the fastpitchprep.com website, it's not going to be hard for you to find. It was quite an effort to write all those pieces, and they got a lot of traction. A lot of people either loved it or hated it, and obviously we have a listener that loved part of it and wanted me to chime in on some things that he also thinks are wrong with the world of travel ball. So we go to the big giant showcases because we want to be seen. If we're lucky enough to be at the right field in the right complex at the right part of town, all the college coaches seem to be there, and the traffic of college coaches that are coming through and watching games and around the park seems to be endless. The flip side of that is you're in that same giant showcase, but you're out at one of the satellite fields. So the satellite fields can be a couple of miles away, can be many miles away. I've been at some of the big giant showcases back when I was still coaching where it might be a 45-minute or an hour drive from one field to another to get a chance to go and see a player. And what ends up happening to the teams and the players that are out at these satellite facilities that are far away from the hub of the event is the college coaches are always trying to balance out how they can get as much work done in a day as they possibly can. And spending an hour or an hour and a half in Atlanta traffic trying to get from one field to another isn't usually seen as their best use of their time. So one of the challenges is when you're entering these showcases, and obviously we all know that Colorado and Chattanooga, Atlanta, Houston, Dallas all have gigantic showcases. Southern California all have gigantic showcases that are very important in the recruiting world. But bigger the showcase and the more facilities that they're using and the more teams that they're bringing in, the likelihood increases that you might be playing at one of these far off satellite facilities. The unfortunate thing is you never know for sure that that's where you're getting assigned until you're already in the event. And once you do figure out that you're going to a big tournament, a big showcase, but you're at one of these satellite facilities, then the emphasis really comes back to the players and the teams doing a better job of contacting coaches that they're interested in, contacting the schools that they want to be recruited by, and trying to do everything you can to convince that coach that it's worth their time, it's worth the drive, it's worth them leaving the main complex to come and see you play. Several years ago, I was still coaching at Tennessee Tech, and I went to a showcase. I went to the Sparkler in Colorado. Now, Sparkler is a gigantic showcase. It's a really cool event, but they use a lot of different parks. And there was one park that I went to see a player that had been communicating with me a lot. And I felt awful when I got there because I could tell from the reaction from the vast majority of teams that were playing there that they hadn't seen very many college coaches. And so I almost felt guilty because I couldn't stay longer and watch more of the teams. But again, my day was planned out very specifically for me to get in, see this girl play a little bit, have a chance to evaluate her in person, and then leave to go and see the next game that I needed to see. And in that case, she did a great job of convincing me to come and see her. I saw enough that I knew for sure I liked her, wanted to recruit her, offered her a scholarship. At the end of the day, she ended up not choosing our school, but her team playing at some far-flung facility didn't keep her from getting an offer and keep her from having an opportunity to be recruited by our school. But she did a lot of work to make sure that that happened. She kept sending me video clips. She kept communicating with me. She kept sending me stuff to let me know that she was really interested in Tennessee Tech. And so that kept me motivated to figure out a way to make sure I got to see her play. And again, now I felt terrible for some of the other teams because obviously a lot of the other teams and coaches didn't have her awareness, weren't as savvy as she was in the recruiting world, and didn't do the same level of work and hadn't seen very many college coaches at all. And the unfortunate reality is the big showcases are like a necessary evil. You have to play in them to help your players get recruited. But if you're not in the right fields, if you're not at the right showcases, if you're not in the right part of the tournament, then you got to work really, really hard to get coaches to come and see you play. So what's wrong with the world of travel ball? That showcases have gotten so big and so gigantic in some cases that they're using 8, 10, 12 different facilities, and that some of those facilities might be so far removed from each other that it makes it very difficult and in some cases almost impossible for college coaches to get to see all the players that they really want to see. players, parents, travel ball coaches got to work a little bit harder. But showcases that are so big that they've got to use all these big satellite facilities, to me, I think that's a really big problem. So I get it. They want the showcase to be big. They can have a bigger profit that way and have a better business model that way. But for the teams that are going into it not knowing that they're going to be a long way away from the main complex, it's kind of a crummy deal. So that's going to wrap up this topic. Make sure you support our sponsors, the Anderson Bat Company, Bittinger and Styles, Mule Tech, EAS, Elite Sporting Goods, Pinnacle Power Butter, and Action Coach. Please make sure you go to the website again, check out the blog post because you're going to really love the series of articles, but you can also order your Square Cuts training discs there. They're $49.95 a dozen. We've already talked about the blog posts and the YouTube channel, but there's tons of information available to you there. Please make sure you keep sending us questions, comments, ideas, suggestions, as this listener did, either at everythingfastpitch@gmail.com or fastpitchprep@gmail.com. Either one of those email addresses will work. We'd love to talk about stuff that you're interested in. This is kind of a nice little quick-hitting way for us to cover a whole lot of topics. And again, if you have anything at all that you're curious about, make sure you let us know. And please make sure you keep the Player of the Week nominations coming in. We're going to be back to the normal Everything Fast Pitch format here pretty quickly, and we'd love to have a nice, strong backlog of potential players to recognize as our Player of the Week. And that's going to wrap up this episode. We'll talk to you again soon.